Hello, hi guys. Good morning. Thanks everyone for joining today in our session on AWS cloud migration strategies and best practices. I'm Haris Zahid Ahmed. I'm working as a solution architect here in TecBrix. In my time at TecBrix, I have had the privilege of guiding many organizations through their AWS cloud migration journey, from planning, assessment to the actual migration, and I have seen many success stories for that. So, in today we will be discussing about why organizations want to migrate to the AWS cloud. What are the benefits that AWS brings to the table so that a lot of organizations are planning and want to adopt AWS cloud. Then we will discuss about the 7 Rs, which is the core of our agenda today, is what are the 7 migration strategies which we can choose based on our requirements. Then we will discuss about some of the cloud migration best practices and how we as a TechBricks can help you in your cloud migration journey. And then if you have any questions, we will be answering those. So to start, here is why organizations want to migrate to the AWS cloud. The first one is the agility and staff productivity. We can think of agility as being quick and flexible. When we use AWS Cloud, we can adapt and respond to the changes really faster because launching services in AWS Cloud is just like few clicks away. So we can adapt to the business requirements, we can adapt to the new changes very easily and very quickly. Plus, you are not worrying about the managing the hardware, or you are not worrying about the managing the your space. You're not managing the software, you're not managing hardware, you're not worrying about the end of life for some of your hardwares, for some of your software products. It's just like you are giving this headache or giving all these responsibilities to AWS to handle for you, so you can just focus on your business. Plus you can go global in quickly and in minutes. For example, you have an your business running in Middle East. You want to launch it in North America, or you want to launch in Australia. So with AWS, you can go global within few minutes. Plus, AWS can help you in improving your security and operational resilience. By adopting cloud, you can reduce your overall cost. You can change from capex to opex model. AWS can help you to digitally transform your business, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the advantages which AWS has, and that's why organizations are looking forward to adopt cloud. Now, in the next 20-30 minutes, we will be just discussing about the 7 Rs of the cloud migration. When an organization wants to migrate to the cloud, how we start is we start by the discovery. We do the initial discovery. It's often called as portfolio assessment. When we do the initial discovery, we get to understand about our infrastructure which we want to migrate to the cloud. For example, we have hundreds of servers and we have like more than 50 applications running on it. So we will be getting the initial discovery of our portfolio, and then we will be assessing and prioritizing those applications which we want to migrate to the cloud. And then after that, we need to determine the path based on our application requirements, based on our strategy, business goals. We need to determine which path is beneficial for us and which path is correct, is right for us to migrate to the cloud. Then we can validate and do the transition. So there are 7 Rs of the cloud migration. For example, retire, retain, relocate, rehost, repurchase, replatform, and refactor. So at the end of the presentation, you will be able to understand this complex looking architecture. You will be able to understand all these 7 Rs in a better way. So we'll be discussing about all these strategies. For example, we'll start with the relocate. What is relocate? So consider relocate as, for example, if you are living in a one neighborhood and you have a house. So what you want to do is want to pick that house up and you want to put that in some new neighborhood or some new town or new city. Same like that, in your IT infrastructure, if you have your applications running on your on-premises system and you want to migrate them to the AWS cloud, what you want to do is you don't want to change any configuration, you don't want to change any operating system, you don't want to change anything regarding your application. You just want to relocate from your on-premises data center to AWS for managing. So, for example, if you are running a VMware cloud on AWS, what you can do is you can just pick the VMware cloud and deploy it on AWS as it is without changing anything. You are not changing any configurations, you're not changing any operating system. So what you will do when you will do the assessment, you start assessing your VMware environment, and then you plan to migrate to the AWS, and then you start the replication. You just pick your environment and deploy it on the AWS. So once you are switch over to the AWS, you are satisfied with the current configurations and everything, you can start using it. The additional benefit you are getting is you can get access to all these native AWS services. For example, Amazon S3, Amazon RDS, Shield, DynamoDB, and many more. So when you want to migrate your VMware environment without changing anything, relocation or relocate migration strategy is the best suit for you. And the next strategy we have is called as rehost. So we do the discovery, we have prioritized our applications, and then now we need to determine the path. We need to rehost. Rehost is often known as lift and shift. So think of rehosting is just like as moving your all belonging. For example, if you have a house and you want to change the structure, change the infrastructure of your house, but you don't want to change any of the belongings, your furniture, your everything is just you want to place as it is in the new house. So in the technical terms, for example, if you are running your applications on premises on your on premises data center, and what you want to do is you just want to migrate all the configurations, you want to migrate the data, you want to migrate the application as it is. So this is called as rehosting. So what you need to do is you need to manually install the software. So there are two ways for rehosting strategy. If you want to migrate, you have to manually launch the server, you need to install the application, you need to do the configuration, and then you need to do the deployment. But in AWS has a service which is called as MGN console. It's pretty easy for you to lift and shift. You can automate all these manual tasks. You can use the tool, you can use the migration tool, and then you can launch your servers within AWS in like in few minutes. It depends on the data, how much data you have, but it's a very easy and seamless process. So how we want to lift and shift, if we how we can do the lift and shift if we want to migrate from the on-premises using AWS application migration service. It is very flexible, reliable, and it's highly automated. So you can migrate from any source, you can migrate from any operating system, you can migrate from the, you can even plan the large migrations. For example, if you have 100 of the servers and you want to lift and shift all of them, so it's just a matter of installing the agent on the virtual machine, and it will replicate all the data to the AWS cloud. So it's a very reliable, secure, and it doesn't require a lot of skills to operate this AWS MGN service. It's easily plug, you can easily plug in to your servers, and it will start the migration. So let's look at how AWS MGN works for your lift and shift migrations. So imagine you have an on-premises infrastructure. You have identified the physical and virtual hosts which you want to migrate to the AWS cloud. Then you just plan to use the AWS migration service. You don't want to change any data. You don't want to change any configurations within your environment. You just want to rehost, lift, and shift the servers to the AWS cloud. So the first step you need to do is you need to install the AWS replication agent on your source servers. Once you install the agent, and then what the agent will do, the agent will start replicating your data to the AWS, and it will not affect your business operations. You can carry on your day-to-day activities while AWS is doing the job behind the scenes for you. and then you can perform the tests. Once you see that the server has been migrated to the AWS and you have performed all the quality tests and you made sure that all the data has been replicated, then you can just do the cutover. Now, this is your final stage. You have migrated your servers from your on-premises system to AWS cloud, and then now you are just start using it. So it's as easy as it looks. It's just a matter of installing the agents and doing the replication. So AWS MGN supports a wide range of applications. You can migrate any database, almost any operating system, and from any source you can think about. So wherever your source environment, say whatever the applications you have and whatever the operating systems you are using, you can just use the AWS MGN for that and migrate them to the AWS cloud. Now, the next migration strategy is called as re-platform. So replatforming, imagine you have a classic car and you love driving it. So for example, what you need to do is you need to enhance the features of your car. You need to make sure that the engine is efficient. You need to make sure that it has more fuel efficiency, and you want to upgrade the parts of your car, but you don't want to change the look and feel of it. So this is called as re-platforming. So now you will install the latest engine in your car and do a bit of modification, install some systems. In the in terms of migration to the AWS cloud, for example, you have your applications running on your servers on your on-premises cloud, and you want to re-platform, lift and reshape. Instead of just migrating or lift and shifting to the cloud, you want to make sure that you are using the benefits of AWS cloud. So what you need to do is you need to change a little bit of your application and so that it can run on the AWS cloud, and you can having all the benefits of your of the cloud computing. You can do scaling, you can do the disaster recovery in an easy fashion, and all these things you need. So it will require some optimization and changes to your application. It will require a minimum amount of re-engineering so that, but you will be the benefits you will be having are maximum. So for example, in terms of re-platforming, let's say you have a databases in your on-premises system, a database server, a SQL server, or an Oracle server, or MariaDB, and you want to adopt cloud. You are migrating it to AWS, and you have an AWS service which is called an AWS Data Migration Service. It's a pretty seamless service. You just need to connect the source and the destination. It will do the migration for you. So instead of launching the SQL server on a virtual machine, just like you are doing it on your on-premises, or launching an Oracle instance on a virtual machine, what you need to do is you are re-platforming. You are using Amazon RDS service. You can use Amazon Aurora for amazing performance, high availability, and resilience. You want to use Amazon DynamoDB if you have a NoSQL databases. You want to use, let's say, Amazon DocumentDB if you have a MongoDB server running on your on-premises. So AWS has all these platforms, and the best part is all these services, Amazon RDS, DynamoDB, are fully managed by AWS. What benefits you are getting by using these platforms instead of launching it on the server? So you are not maintaining the architecture of these databases. So for example, if you are maintaining the server on the on-premises and then managing the database on it, in Amazon RDS, you are not managing, you are not maintaining any architecture. It will be a very cost-effective transition for you. The reason is that you are not hiring any IT staff, or you don't have an operational overhead to manage the servers for your databases. Plus, you are taking the advantage of the cloud features, the elasticity of it, the scalability of it. You can create read replicas of Amazon RDS. You can create a disaster recovery within few minutes. And you, for example, if there is a huge load on your databases, you can scale up your databases within few minutes by just clicking few buttons. So it is as easy as simple. So you are taking advantages of all these things by just re-engineering your application a little bit. It's called as re-platform. So if you have on-premises databases and you want to migrate them to the cloud, the best way to do that is to re-platform your databases so that you can get the full advantage of the AWS cloud. The other strategy is repurchase. So when we use this repurchase, for example, you have an old computer. For example, you are using it for many years and the computer is getting old and all the features and are getting old and you are not able to install latest applications. Managing those computer and managing, for example, that server is not very efficient for you. So what you want to do is you want to change the strategy. If you are having an ERP system in your on-premises that you build and it is running on a very old operating system, it is having very old versions of your application. So when you want to migrate to the cloud, for example, you have done the discovery, you have done the assessment, and when you've done the assessment, you understand that this ERP system is very old. While migrating to the cloud, it will not make much impact because over there it may be having the same issues. We need to manage the operating system is very old, the dependencies are too much, we are not able to upgrade that system. What you can do is you can change the strategy. You can have a SaaS platform, an ERP system. For example, you can go to Salesforce or anything. It's just an example. You can go to any SaaS platform as per your requirements. So you are just paying for them monthly. So how it's benefiting for you? You are not managing the you are not managing the IT staff to manage it. You are not having the developers to upgrade those systems. You are not maintaining the servers so that you can run your old ERP system. So what you are doing, you are just using a SaaS platform and focusing on your business. So when an organizations migrate to the cloud, they just evaluate that their existing software solutions are might outdated or inefficient, and they can use the modern systems, modern SaaS platforms. So they go with this repurchasing strategy. And this approach sometimes aligns with the cloud migration goals. So you are reducing the operational complexity, you are enhancing the scalability because everything is being managed by some third party and some other vendors for you. And sometimes it gives you the financial flexibility as well. Repurchasing strategy gives you the financial benefit as well. So you're not paying any upfront cost for managing your systems. You're just paying the operational cost monthly to running your systems. So this is called as repurchase strategy. In AWS, if you want to purchase any SaaS platform, so there is an AWS marketplace. It has thousands of vendors listed, and they have almost every range of products listed on the AWS marketplace. We can just go subscribe to that product and start using it. Whether it's a software product, it's some data product, some machine learning models, either professional services, or if you want some container solutions, whatever you need, you can just go to the AWS marketplace based on your requirements. If you have a very legacy system, you can discard that system, do the repurchasing strategy, subscribe to the software from the AWS marketplace, and reduce the operational overhead. Then comes to the next migration strategy, which is called as refactoring. So refactoring in the context of migration is a process where you modify and optimize your applications to leverage the cloud native features and capabilities. So you're not changing the behavior of the application, how it works, but yes, you are changing how it is designed. For example, refactoring means that you are refactoring anything. It's just like, if you have a house and you want to change the look and feel of it, you want to discard that house, maybe you break some portions of it and then you need to revamp it. So this is called as refactoring. So in the migration strategies, for example, you have done the discovery, you choose the migration path, you see that the application is a legacy application, but you are adopting AWS cloud. You want to maximize the benefit of the cloud adoption. You want to modernize your environment as well. So what you need to do, if you plan to migrate your application, you just need to redesign your application. You need to redesign the infrastructure. You need to do the application code level changes so that you can build your application more cloud native. And then you will do the software development lifecycle, do the integrations, and then migrate to the AWS, and then validate, transition, and run your systems in the production environment. For example, what is the example of the refactoring? You have an on-premises system, a monolith application. Let's say you have an e-commerce application, and it's a monolith application, and it is hosted on the virtual machine. When you want to migrate to the AWS cloud, you're just not migrating it. You don't want to lift and shift. You want to maximize the benefits of AWS cloud. You want to modernize your infrastructure. You refactor your application, and you build the microservices. For example, previously you have your payment method, shipping, billing, catalog, everything deployed in a single monolith application for your e-commerce application. And when you migrate to the cloud, you decouple that application into the smaller chunks, smaller architecture parts. For example, you create the containers for your billing service, containers for shipping service, containers for your catalog service, containers for your for your search service, for example. And you want to and then you migrate that to the microservices architecture. For example, you deployed it to Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service, or you migrate it to the ECS. So this is called as refactoring. So many organizations, when they want to adopt the cloud, they want to make sure that they want to take that as an opportunity for them to modernize their infrastructure. Instead of just migrating, they want to modernize the infrastructure as well. Plus, you can also refactor to use serverless applications. For example, I will give you a very small example. You have a service deployed on your server, which what it is doing, it is just doing the uh, resizing of your image of your e-commerce application. What you can do is you can change that application, refactor that application, run the create the Lambda function, use the AWS S3, refactor it, and use the serverless approach. So whenever someone is uploading any images or any image to your e-commerce platform, or you are just running a Lambda function, resizing the image and storing in a new S3 bucket. So all the application components of your architecture will be automatically scalable. And the best part is you are not managing any infrastructure. You are not managing the underlying infrastructure which is being used for Lambda function. So no infrastructure provisioning, no management. It can automatically scale. You don't need to worry. If uh, there are like thousands of images you are resizing in one day, and next day if there are millions of images, you don't need to worry about changing your infrastructure because it can automatically scale to meet the demand. It's highly available and secure as well. You are just paying for the value. You are not paying for the provisioning of the infrastructure. You are just paying for the services which you are using. So when organizations want to migrate to the cloud, they can evaluate that which applications are suitable for this serverless approach, and then they refactor their applications and run it on the serverless model. And the other example of the refactoring is that you have an on-premises system and you are running COBOL application on mainframe, which is like really like old scenario, or you are running a .NET application on Windows platform, on Windows operating system. So what you need to do is when you are migrating these applications, so you just plan to refactor those. You refactor the application, rebuild the application, create it in Java, and run on a Linux machine, or a Linux, or it can run on as a container as well. So for example, if you have a .NET application running on Windows, when you want to migrate to the cloud, you want to modernize your environment as well. So you can get rid of the Microsoft licensing. So you refactor your application, put it on the create it on the .NET code, and you can run as a container, or you can run it as a Linux. So as a part of your migration, you have modernized your environment, you have refactored your application, and you are getting rid of the licenses, you are getting rid of the old environment and just migrating to the AWS cloud. So refactoring has a lot of benefits as well. Now, the next application migration strategy is called retain. The retain strategy in the migration journey, it involves choosing to keep certain applications or systems as they are. When you do the assessment of your infrastructure, let's say you have 50 applications, you prioritize and assess the 40 applications which you want to migrate to the cloud. Five of them you don't want to touch because those applications are legacy systems. And let's say these legacy systems are deeply integrated into your business. These applications are deeply integrated into your business. And if you want to migrate them, and if something happens to these applications, you may have business loss. Or, for example, we have been involved in, the assessments of the banking sector. There are some applications which are like core banking applications, which are highly sensitive to bank, and they have a compliance policies that the data should not be going out of their premises. So you can retain those applications. So, for example, during the assessment, you can understand that which applications you want to retain. So you're not refactoring those applications, you're not lifting and shifting because you don't want to change anything, or you don't want to, uh, because those applications are business dependent and you don't want to change anything into that. And you want to run your business very smoothly. So, as we have taken the example of a financial system, consider a banking application that has been using for like many years, the bank has been using it. And it's integrated with the banking system, and it's a very critical application. So you don't want to touch that. You want to retain that application in your environment. So that's called retaining. So usually in our experience, we see the organizations who are having some unsupported operating systems which are available in the AWS cloud. For example, Solarix, AIX, which the applications which are running on these operating system, and these are critical applications. We often recommend that we can keep it as it is. So we can apply the retain policy on it, retain migration strategy, that we are not migrating them, we are just retaining them as it is. And there are some servers which are like compliance heavy. It has a great compliance requirements that you cannot migrate that to the AWS cloud. So for those servers, we can retain. Also, if we need ultra high latency from our servers, and these servers are integrated with critical business operations, so then also we can suggest that we can retain it. For example, you have some of your applications, these, for example, let's say this is a these are like 10 applications which are staying at on premises, and you have 40 applications which are running on the cloud, and these applications need to connect with each other, let's say. Then there are multiple scenarios we can do. We can either create a site-to-site VPN with our AWS environment so that our on-premises environment can connect and integrate with the AWS cloud. Plus, we have an option of a direct connect. It's a physical connection from your from your on-premises infrastructure to the AWS cloud. So if you want like ultra high speed, you can connect your on-premises environment with the AWS cloud. And the last application migration strategy is called as retire. So retire means decommission. Consider retiring as, for example, you are migrating it to a new house, you are changing everything, but there are some things which you need to keep it with you to the new house, but there are many things you will find that not necessary. You don't want them. You just either you just trash them, or you can just decommission them. So in the migration, when organizations they plan to migrate to the AWS cloud, in the discovery phase, we often see those servers, those applications running in the on-premises systems, which are not being utilized at all. So there may be systems when it happens when you assess the customer's environment. For example, they have 100 servers. You will see 6, 7 servers which are not being utilized. The utilization is zero for months, but those servers are being launched in the customer's premises, let's say with 8 vCPUs and 32 GB of RAM, and the server is not being utilized at all. So this is the wastage of money. When you migrate to the AWS cloud, you will see that some or servers, some applications which are not required anymore, you can just decommission it, and it can help you in saving a lot of cost. So you can retire or decommission those servers. So for example, if you are using a lot CRM system or any application which you have used like multiple years ago, but when you are migrating your infrastructure to the AWS, you see that okay, this system is not being utilized. No one is using this. So it's just like having unnecessary maintenance and efforts to manage that system. So let's just retire it, let's just decommission it and move rest of the applications to the AWS cloud. So here it is. Either when you are in your application discovery, in your portfolio assessment, you may see that there are some stopped and unused applications, or there are some servers which have some data or some application but no one is using it. So what you can do is you can just back up the data, which may or may not require, who knows, but you, for as a best practice, you can just back up the data of these applications, of the unused applications, to the AWS Glacier Deep Archive. It's really, really cheap. You can store terabytes of data and you will be paying very, very less amount. You can back up the data and decommission those servers. So it can help you to save the your maintenance cost. Also, you can have some capacity left to launch new applications. So as we discuss about all the migration strategies from rehost, relocate to replatform, what are the trends we usually see in the customer's environment when customers want to migrate? So most of the customers, they want to lift and shift so that they can quickly capture the business benefits by migrating to the cloud. And once they are migrating to the cloud, then they will do the replatforming or refactoring and going to the modernization journey. And many organizations, they just want to relocate. For example, you have a VMware environment running in on premises, you just pick the environment, run it on AWS as it is. So these are the two most commonly used migration strategies: lift and shift and relocate. And many organizations, once they are migrated to the cloud, then they plan to re-platform their applications to optimize the the licensing part, to optimize the servers, and then they want to refactor the applications as they are seeing the benefits of the AWS cloud. They want to refactor. They want more. They will be recreating the application architecture and deploying it, so it can save them a lot of cost and it will be very efficient, so they can focus on their business. And many organizations, they want to repurchase. So this trend is less, but still, if you have a legacy system and there is some SaaS platform which is available for you to use, many organizations prefer to use the SaaS platform and implementing the repurchase strategy. So retain, once you do the assessment, you will see there may be some applications which you want to retain, and there may be some applications which are no longer needed and you are retiring those. Now, if we see this picture again, we get to understand that the level of effort. So there's no level of effort required in order to retiring the application. It's almost minimum, right? You're just removing the server. You're just retaining the server. And if you want to relocate, it's a lift and shift. It is having a very minimal effort because you're just picking the your application, just putting it on the AWS cloud, just like relocating. And then you are rehosting, you are lifting and shifting the application on the AWS cloud with all the data, with all the configurations as it is. You just install the server, install the agent, it will do the job for you. The agent will replicate all the data to the AWS cloud, repurchase, replatform, and refactor. So in refactoring, the level of effort is minimum. So when we do the discovery, we understand our applications, we understand our portfolio which we want to migrate, and then we do the assessment and prioritizing that based on each application, what is the best migration strategy for me. There may be some applications which are already running on the latest system, it's already running on the latest environment. What you need to do is just you need to lift and shift. You can just rehost, migrate to the AWS, and re-platform because you don't want any changes. But if you see the systems are getting old and you are migrating to the AWS, but you want to benefit from the AWS other AWS services, you can refactor your application. Rewrite the code, rewrite the dependencies, make sure that the application is working correctly, and then migrate to the AWS cloud. So you can have all the benefits of the AWS. And for example, if you want to, if you are using a CRM system or any software and you are managing and maintaining those system, but you have an option on the AWS marketplace that you can use a SaaS platform. So you just want to go with this repurchasing strategy. You want to repurchase and then migrate to the AWS. So based on our assessment and based on our applications, we can determine the journey which we want to take to migrate to the AWS cloud. So there are some of the best practices which we should consider while migrating to the cloud. So one is the assessment and planning. So before we start the migration, we have to do the thorough assessment and planning of your existing infrastructure. You need to understand the existing all the application architectures. You need to identify the stakeholders. You need to make sure that all the dependencies you have listed down, and then based on the each application you need to plan which migration strategy is better for me, what is the risk involved in migrating to the cloud, what are the things which we need to reconsider. So a thorough assessment and planning is very necessary to migrate to the AWS cloud. Then you need to choose the right cloud model. So in the AWS cloud you have the option for the public, private, hybrid cloud options. You need to make sure that which is the best suit for your business. And then you need to understand the security measures, access controls. So usually, before migrating, we need to create a landing zone where we need to make sure that our AWS environment is ready in terms of security, in terms of access management, and all these things is ready to migrate the applications. Plus, you need to make sure that if you have a lot of data and you want to make sure that you should have a strategy of your data migration, because there are multiple options available in AWS where to store your backup, how you can migrate the terabytes of data to AWS. So you need to create a strategy around that. Plus, you need performance optimization. So we need to identify the uh, cloud native services, which are which can serve us better in terms of scalability and efficiency. We need to automate all these processes and automate the orchestration. We need to automate uh, the migrations, the complex workflows, and all these things. Plus we need to do the testing and validation, we need to do the staff training and change management. It's very important as well, because when you are adopting the cloud, you need to make sure that you are adopting the you're just not only changing the IT infrastructure, you are just changing the way your organization operates and behaves. Plus, you need to implement the monitoring and governance. You need to document each and every part, and the communication is the key while doing this migration. How TecBrix can help you if you want to migrate from your on-premises system to the AWS cloud. So we have people who are like highly skilled and specialist in migrating the application, in migrating the on-premises infrastructure to the AWS cloud. We have a great framework, migration framework, and a set of best practices which we often implement to make sure that the customers are migrating to the AWS cloud and having the full benefit and full potential of the cloud. Plus, we can help you in creating the landing zone architectures just to make sure that when we are migrating it right, and we are making sure that we are considering the security and best practices right from the start in your migration journey. We can help you in understanding the migration by pilot migrations. For example, you can identify a small application with your team, and then we can do that migration so that you can understand the migration process. We can advise on your which services. We can create the business case, what to use, what to not use in terms of our assessment which we will be doing for you. And then we can also provide you the managed services if you want us to manage the cloud infrastructure for you on your behalf, so we can do that as well. This is an example of a very high level example of for migration timeline that in the initial 2 weeks, based on the infrastructure, it can go up to like 4 or 5 weeks as well if you have a huge portfolio. But first of all, we'll be doing the assessment and planning. In the assessment, we'll be doing the readiness assessment, portfolio assessment, creating the business case, making sure that we understand the application architectures, creating the application dependencies, and all these things, and then creating the landing zone in the cloud, then starting the application migration. Once we are in the cloud, we need to continuously monitor our application. We need to make sure that because it's a continuous cycle of operational excellence, then we need to do the integrations if required, and then modernize our environment. We have experience in the almost all of the major AWS technologies for your migration. For example, if you want to migrate to the container platforms or computing networking devices or the networking services of the AWS, storage and databases, big data, application integrations, application migrations, AWS infrastructure for the if you want to enable DevOps to for your application for continuous integration, continuous deployment. So we can do that as well. So that's it from today's webinar. If you have any questions, you may please ask. Thank you.